discussing a topic that's exception handling. So where we are using the exception handling and how to use the exception handling, let's first understand one problem, right? So suppose if I'm having something called as A and I'm saying A is equal to here, I'm saying oh sorry, I'm saying A equal to 10. Yeah, if I will say int input and I will say enter, right? Then I will copy the same thing here and paste it. Let's say I'm saying this is B, right? And here I am performing the operation that is print A divided by B, right? So when I will run this program, if I will give the A value as 10 and B value as 20, you are getting the output, right? The output you are getting is 0.5. What if I will run it again now? Now if I will give the input as 12 and second input as 0 at the time, what is happening here? Okay, the program will crash, right? It is saying some error has been occurred. Although our program is working fine, whenever we are giving the denominator value, uh, except 0, we are giving something else. At the time, it is working fine. But whenever the b value is coming 0, at the time it is throwing an error, right? This is one kind of error. Suppose I will run it again, right? Now it is saying me enter, and I'm giving enter something like this. Again it is crashing. Why? Because it is expecting the integer value here, but you are giving the string. So typecasting of string to integer is not possible, right? That means here you are taking the input from the user, so you don't know what user will give you as the input, right? But at that time your program should not crash here, your program should not crash here. So how to handle certain situations? For that we are having something called as a exception handling, and this exception handling will go from the basics. There is something called as a try and extend. These are the two blocks that you are having in the exception handling, right? That means whatever the code where you find or you feel like the user may give any input, and your program may crash at the time, but your program should not crash. It should execute finally, and I will say except here, and here I will say print, and here I will say something went wrong, something went wrong. Okay, let me run this again. Okay, so suppose now I am giving the string again here. See, what is the output here? You are not getting that error here. You are getting something like this, something went wrong. So why we are using the exception handling? Suppose this is your program. And after that program, you want to perform some other operations. Like take an example. Let me remove this. I guess you understood this thing, right? Suppose again if I will give the b value as 0, now I'll give the actual value. I'll give 45 and b I will give 65. Okay, at the time it will work fine. Again if I will run it, and let me give the 89, and the b I will give is 0, right? What should the program should crash here? Previously it was throwing an error saying that divisible by 0, right? Now see what will happen this time. It will not throw an error, but it will give the message something went wrong, right? This is why we are using the exception handling. One more case of the exception handling is like that. Suppose I am saying here A is equal to int input, and here I will say enter, right? And after that I am saying print hi, my name is word, right? See, here we are taking the input from the user. After we know every program in the Python is running in a sequence. That means this line will be run first. After that, this line will be executed, right? So when I will run this program, if I am giving the a value as 23, right? And after that, it is giving me the this output as well. Hi, my name is world, right? When I will run this program again, let me give the input as string. As you know, String to integer type casting is not possible. That means it will throw an error, right? It is throwing an error. Okay, sorry. It will throw an error, right? It is throwing an error. But what is the mistake of this guy? Print statement. इसकी क्या गलती है? इसकी तो कोई गलती है ही नहीं, right? गलती तो इसकी है. This should be executed, right? This line must be executed. If he is doing something wrong, we should not punish this guy. Getting this point? So how to handle it? Again, we will do something called as an exception. I will say here try, and let me give here one tab, and after that we will keep here except, and here I will say print something went wrong, something went wrong at line number 6. Okay, and after that we are saying print my. See, previously what do I had? This line and this line. When something wrong was happening in this line, we were giving this thing. At that time, it was throwing an error. Now we will see if it what will happen here. See what will happen. Now I'm giving the wrong input here. I'm giving the wrong input. Okay. Still, this line number 9, is executing, right? It is saying something went wrong at line number 6, but this print statement is always also being executed, right? Now, if I will give the right input, let me give the right input. That's 1, 2, 3, and this line is also being executed here, right? Check this again. I will show you, right? If I had something like this, and I was giving the input something like this, at the time your program was crashing and this output you were not getting. But when you are using the try and accept, at the time it allows you to execute the next lines as well. So what is the story behind the try and exception? Why was this concept came on? So there was some flight going on and some program crashed in between, and whatever the code was written after the crash, suppose here the program got crashed, and after this program there was some important controls that were utilized in the flight, right? And those codes were not executed at that time. Those controls were not executed at the time. That's why the plane got crashed, and many people died in that crash, right? So there, from there, the concept of try and accept came. Suppose if this line is crashing, do nothing, but whatever the lines are coming after that, you should execute those lines. Getting this point? Now one more problem I will show you. Suppose, take an example. We are saying a is equal to int. Okay, let's take an example. I'll say a equal to, I know, let's say I will say something like this. Easy program I will do. Print a, right? And after that, I'm having a list ls equal to 23, comma 44, comma 54, comma 66, 77, right? And after that, I'm saying for I in ls, and I'm saying print I, right? Okay. See, this line will be executed. There is nothing wrong with this line. There is nothing wrong with the line. There is no nothing wrong with this line. If I were run it, and see, it is saying that a is not defined here, means there is an error in the line number 4. That error is a runtime error, right? Syntax error will not be handled by the try and accept. Syntax errors are not handled by the exception handling. Only the runtime errors are handled by the exception and the exception handling, right? That means here it will throw an error. Now how to control that error? As you know, I will use here try, and here let me tap it, and after here I will say something went wrong, except print something went wrong, something wrong. Okay, now if I will run it, that means it should work fine. See, it is saying something wrong, then it is printing the list as well, which was not happening in the previous program. That means wherever you are feeling like that the error may happen, at the time you should use the try and accept. right? You should do the try and accept it to handle that errors, right? Now suppose if I'm using here, if I'm using here for I in range, for I in range length of else, and here I'm saying print I. Oh, so what will happen here? Because of line number one, there is an error. That's why it's catching it in the accept, but the rest of the code is working fine and it's printing me 0, 1 to 3, right? So if I will do here like this, plus 45, will it throw an error? No, it's not throwing an error. It's working fine, right? But if I will do something like this, if I will do something like this, ls of I want to print ls of I. For I in range, ls length plus 45, and I'm saying print ls of I. Now let me run this program. Let me run this program and see it is saying list index out of range, because in this list you are having the index number 0, 1, 2, and 3. There is no index number 4, 5, 6, and so on. That's why it is saying list index out of range. So we know that there is certain kind of error in this line, right? I will not change the program here. So what I will do, nothing I will do. I will create one thing called as a try and accept. Try, and here let me do the tab. Okay, we'll try this, and after that I will use the accept except accept and have say print. Okay, and here I will say executed, right? That's it. Let me run this now. Okay, so it is working fine now. It's not showing any kind of error here, right? Now if you have to check what kind of errors are happening, what kind of errors are happening, suppose here it was saying a is not defined. If you want to check that, for that you are having something called as this. I will say except exception as a, right? And this e is an aliasing, right? You can have any name here, it's up to you. I will say here, I will say error occurred because comma e, right? Let me run this. Okay, now here say error occurred because name a is not defined. Same thing here, you can use the exception as, I will copy this same thing here, control C, and here I'll paste it, control V. Let me run it. Okay, so we have to pass here comma e. That means it will tell me what is the error. Okay, here it is saying executed list index out of range. Hope you understood the introduction, basic introduction of the exception handling. So again, I am repeating this. Exception handling you will use over there wherever you feel your program may crash. Your program may crash, but the rest of the code should execute successfully. There should be nothing happening with the rest of the code because उसकी कोई गलती नहीं है, उसका code syntax ठीक है, everything is working fine, but वो execute नहीं हो पा रहा है because of this print a is not defined. That means rest of the code work नहीं करेगा at that time. If you want the rest of the code to work successfully, तो आप उसके लिए क्या यूज करोगे? Try and accept block, right? Try is a, this block is try, then you are having the accept block here as well, right? This is a basic introduction. I will come up with couple of more videos on this try and accept, right? Thank you. Okay, let's go. So today we are